decisions towards the divine alternative. Source of the sourced source. Hello everyone. In today's episode, I would like to speak about the major concept of the Bodhisattva. I'm going to go into details of how the idea of the Bodhisattva applies and can apply to today. And when I say decisions towards the divine alternative, the significance of that statement is the interaction of human psychology with the source of its inner realm, with the source of reality, really. This is the mystery of life. We're living in the pre-knowing what the mind is era, you know? Let me see, where can I begin? First of all, I want the listeners to consider that this podcast is the effort of 4.5 billion years of evolution. And I am 1 in 8 billion plus human beings on a planet, in a galaxy, in a universe filled with endless galaxies. There is more worlds than we can count in our one world view of reality. So what I'm trying to say is that keep in mind, I am not treating myself as, my approach to this to these lectures is really that I find myself to be a sort of psychological hunter-gatherer of the tribe of the human kingdom. Really what it is for me is that I have realized the destiny of myself. And I have also noticed that the destiny of the species is based on how many human beings on the planet become conscious to it. You see, the way life is designed in 2022, people are looking for the important. I can't tell you how many situations in this lifetime, since 91, I have observed human beings and their characters change the moment they find something more important than where they were or what they were doing. Really what it is that even though the human being grows, and as it grows, through the passage of every single day, accumulates layers and layers to life's implication. Right? But regardless of how we develop, really there is this notion of the inner child, and the inner child is another way of saying a person cannot forget how life was being perceived simply before their psychology was in some sense hardened in a certain structure of behavior. You see, we are storytelling animals. This is so important to consider. And when I wonder about what is the purpose of biological life, I have come to two conclusions, really. That means, I'm just one person, but as one person on this planet, I have made two major conclusions on reality, on what the meaning and the purpose of life is. And I pretty much start off by dividing human intelligence from where the biological eyes are. So to me, the way I classify reality is that in front of my eyes, this is the outer realms. behind my eyes, when I close my eyes and I remember something or visualize something or see something behind my eyes, I consider that the inner realms. And because I am functioning in this existential and experiential duality, one side of the coin, it's, unconscious existence, other side of the coin is conscious experience. So, to me, when I wonder about the purpose of human life and in regards to the outer realms, it is really to move towards the most advanced option. That means we have come to a point in history where, a person on a podcast is saying, when will the species consider its most advanced possibility? It's like the misery levels on the planet are so high that people are actually trapped in inner realm incompleteness rather than outer realm completeness. It's as if imperfections have entered the attention of the species first. Right now, if you ask, the average person, and you're like, hey, how do you feel about the next, couple thousand years of the, human life on the planet? They will probably go towards saying, like, there will be war or shitload of extinction scenarios. By the way, the listeners can let me know. I mean, I understand it's windy where I am giving this talk on my balcony, but it's like, hopefully the wind isn't too loud. Anyways, I'm going to go back to this inner realm, outer realm thing. Pretty much for the outer realms, the purpose of life, I have considered that it's to build an advanced civilization. There's nothing greater, more honorable, or supreme. The advanced civilization is the conclusion of all logical systems of thought on this planet. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. It doesn't matter if you're good or evil or whatever sort of denomination you find your psyche to be a member of. You're going to see that really we want to see the most advanced human effort. And all human beings, actually, it's like a sort of, I shouldn't say hidden desire, but it's as if like when greatness is in front of you, you want to see its greatness, And when you are present as a sort of biochemical animal, biochemical personality in the realm, it's as if it's like to wonder about greatness is like the privilege of life. For me, when I look at materialistic societies, it's like I want to shout greatness. When I look at materialistic societies, it is the activation of greatness. You see, we are considering that the observable physical universe is our whole universe, and that is a flaw when even in scientific circles there's discussions on an unobservable universe. Right, so it's as if you can say this is what renders an individual, let's say, conscious entity in the realm as a fool or a genius, based on its ability to acknowledge the exact proportion, the exact ratio of how much there is unknown events in nature and how much there is known. And when you wonder about the source of knowledge, you're actually realizing that the way the scenario of history has been is that human beings have just been born, they have been conditioned, and they have rebelled against their own conditioning to wonder about what else is there. To me, like, somebody I have a huge respect for is Nikola Tesla. And Nikola Tesla, I don't remember the exact quote, but he's pretty much saying, like, some people stole his ideas and, they became victorious in the present. But Nikola Tesla was saying, I have lived and worked for the future, and that is my victory. And he was pretty much implying that he was living as a multidimensional being when you actually care for the future. that is pretty much like the concept of the future is the greatest sort of spirituality for an atheistic culture. I'm telling you, if you're an object and just an object, it's, you know what it is? It's as if like I remember I saw this video. It was like this. Oh God, let me see if I can get this right. It was like Deepak Chopra and Sam Harris, having a discussion, and this was a YouTube video. And there was a moment where there was another person, I think his name was Michael Shermer, where he looks at Deepak Chopra talking about infinite consciousness, quantum consciousness, and he's like, that's woo, man. You think like this idea of the soul is materialistic, is empirically valid, And so here's the bizarre thing, that the moment one idea, one subject is untrue, what is stopping the person to consider how their own subject of a self is untrue? It's as if you don't believe in imagination, you don't believe where the ego lives, where the ego exists. Do you know? It's like when we as human beings, like on a physical level, it's pure biological, like it's pure atomic elemental behavior. But when you wonder about what is inspiring matter, when I look at all the buildings that I can see from my balcony, I ask myself, what inspired the design of the existence I see now? And I see that it was multiple dimensions, various human beings, various architects that saw the building behind their eyes and then built it in front of it, right? And so if there is an outer realm and an inner realm, if there is at least the classification of, all right, we got something, it's similar, we call it a body, it's an object, and we got something called a mind, which is mysterious, but it handles and in some sense navigates and pilots subjects, right? So it's as if behind your eyes you move as world creation subjectively. In front of your eyes, the object moves in the space that is being considered the awareness of the mind. This is where the presence of the person liberates them from their personality. Now, earlier I said I want to speak about the notion of a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is a concept from Buddhism. But a certain denomination of Buddhism called Mahayana Buddhism. And the bodhisattva is kind of like the enlightened being that is still present in a world. It's pretty much like, how an unconditional soul maneuvers in the conditional, Here, I'll just read it for you. Let me find this thing. So, bodhisattva. I think if I was to ever start a record label, I think I'd call it Bodhisattva Records. But maybe that name's out there. Anyways, guys, I'm going to continue. In Buddhism, a bodhisattva or bodhisattva is any person who is on the path towards Bodhi, which means awakening or Buddhahood. In the early Buddhist schools, as well as modern Theravada Buddhism, a bodhisattva refers to anyone who has made a resolution to become a Buddha and has also received a confirmation or prediction from a living Buddha that this will be so. In Mahayana Buddhism, a bodhisattva refers to anyone who has generated bodhicitta, a spontaneous wish and compassionate mind to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Mahayana bodhisattvas are Mahayana bodhisattvas are spiritually heroic persons that work to attain awakening and are driven by a great compassion. The term here is called Mahakaruna. These beings are exemplified by important spiritual qualities such as the 4 divine abodes, Brahma Viharas, they're known. Of the first abode is Metta, of loving kindness, Karuna, of compassion, the abode of compassion, Mudita, the abode of empathetic joy, and the abode of Upekkha, equanimity. as well as the various bodhisattva perfections, paramitas, which include uh, prajna paramita, which means transcendent knowledge or perfection of wisdom, and skillful means, which is known as upaya. I'll try to explain this better what I'm reading here for you. But I'm going to continue. In Theravada Buddhism, the bodhisattva is mainly seen as an exceptional and rare individual. Only a few select individuals are ultimately able to become bodhisattvas, such as Maitreya. Mahayana Buddhism generally understands the bodhisattva path as being open to everyone, and Mahayanists encourage all individuals to become bodhisattvas. Spiritually advanced bodhisattvas such as oh my god, I don't know if I can pronounce this. Avalokiteshvara, Maitreya, and Manjushri are also widely venerated across the Mahayana Buddhist world and are believed to possess great magical power which they employ to help all living beings. Okay, so guys, this thing I'm reading here for you, there's I have a criticism on it myself. You see, it's not that the bodhisattva is an exceptional and rare individual. Sure, like let's say the numbers of the bodhisattvas are limited, but I am saying the purpose of the bodhisattva is for the whole world to get enlightened. So because the bodhisattva wants the collective experiencer to achieve its attainment, in some sense every individual has to be perceived with bodhisattvic potential. And in my school of thought, what I'm trying to do is, this is my whole vision for Civilization 2.0. But I would say in Mr. Within's inner and outer realmism, pretty much in front of our eyes, we advance civilization. Behind our eyes, we advance communication. The advancement of civilization is to build the all-out, in all perceivable dimensions, efficient, system. It's like the nostalgia of a nature-inspired, unnatural system to actually attain nature. And when I say an advanced civilization, don't think it's just advanced in regards to technology. It is advanced in the acknowledgement of the human being's relationship with nature. So the concept of the advanced communicator, this is another way where I would say it's the bodhisattva archetype. How so? Because the human species is the most advanced communication in this universal sector so far that the human species knows about. Like, I understand religious people believe in angels and gods, okay? I believe, New Age people believe in aliens and, I don't know, planetary beings and whatnot. Like, I understand all of these, but in some sense, what I'm trying to say is that the moment in a singularian instant, that means in one moment when you suddenly notice this whole time you have actually not just been you have been how the universe is being in this universal sector. Do you see? It's as if the environment has a soul, but its soul is connected to that which at the edge of the eyes behind our eyes. Do you know? It's as if it's like the same. The advanced communicator is the human being that has realized advancement is the birthright of the species. I don't care, really honestly, how many people, I sometimes hope, these talks that I give, I think they're so poetic that people don't actually, analytically engage them maybe that much. Or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But I'm saying, I am upholding the role of the guardian angel, poetically, the guardian angel of the future of the species. There's people on this planet, they're worshiping gods. Some people don't believe in gods and worship themselves. Some people, don't believe in themselves and become enslaved to how the world moves them. Do you know? But those people who care for the future, it's as if my vision is that regardless of the misery, heartbreak and inefficiency that the species is experiencing, it's as if we have to, this is my pretty much, I find my existential purpose, to create a bunker for those who want to live for the future before they die to the past. That is the bodhisattvic approach. We are not just saying it's all hate or love, We're just saying that it's as if we are all human consciousness is present in the realm in a unique way once, and because you're here in a world once in this form, and every day not only your inner realms shift when you wake up, let's say after you sleep, or it's just your outer realms over time change as well. So it's as if we are this changing program on the surface of this planet that started off as biological, then became psychological, so it went from physiological to psychological, now from psychological is going into technological, and when it truly realizes the origin of how it is being an intelligence on this planet, there comes a dehumanized reset. That dehumanized reset brings you into a neutrality where all the ways you have judged yourself and the world in the past are nullified, and you are just standing in an unknown world, and the you is gone. Let me tell you why. Because the only way we're a self is because we separate the world and the self. You don't know how many, videos on YouTube I've seen of yogis, pretty much like these, enlightened yogis, and these disciples go up to them and they're like, give me truth, enlightened yogi. And the enlightened yogis like, buddy, it's all one. What truth you want me to give you? You're being it. It's as if it's the presence of nature before the language that was born out of man's mind could kill it, could in some sense entrap it, right? There is a language war, and you know what it is? I shouldn't say it's war. It's like human beings unlocked such an advanced technology the moment we began actually moving towards being creatures that speak. That means language is such a rare and unique technology. At the same time, it is also a technology that can possess. For example, I would say cigarettes, like they are a technology that possesses, it's a chemical possession. You look at people who, like, their whole life, they just believe in one idea and never see anything else. It's as if they are possessed by the comfort of their past, not realizing everybody on this planet leaves empty-handed. You see, there's a reason this great poet named Rumi 700 years ago, he says, before death takes away all that is given, give away all there is to give. The true wealth of life is not just kingdoms, like shiny kingdoms. The true wealth of life is to realize the quality of experience of life and its potential activation. That's it. It's as if really existence has nothing to do. It is just a sort of singular position of consciousness that is allowing itself to take light and build stories out of it. Somebody will ask, what's story, here's here. I'm going to ask this from the listeners, right? I mean, here I've given it away, but stories are made of light, and light was here. It's as if existence was here before we gave it meaning. This is a true mystical awakening, and there comes a very profound responsibility, not to meet sacredness outside of you, but to meet your true self before any sort of turbulence and collision. The way at least I use my intelligence, at best, I pretty much, I would say I'm a very minimalist. Even though I give these talks, but in my inner realms, there's a ridiculous minimalistic level of perception, right? What I mean by this is that, I am not a character in a story when I am alone. When I am sitting down, or that moment before I fall asleep, I am not a character in a story. The ego is a character in a story that feels the outer realms deserve and owes it something. Do you know? Now, let's say I'm kind of gonna counter myself, through my future self's eyes. But I'll say this. Imagine somebody came up to me, and they said, all right, Mr. Within, we advanced civilization. We built the most advanced civilization. And also we discovered the most advanced state of the human being. And so we were being the most advanced communication. The most advanced communicators in the realm. So pretty much we had achieved an inner victory and outer victory, and it's like, what else? And this is where I think I was pretty much leaving this when I become an old man to write about this, right? It's as if I feel the younger you are, you must explore humanized states of being. And then as you get older, you need to kind of loosen yourself up to recognizing dehumanized moments of pretty much how energy doesn't have a face. There's a quote from Wittgenstein. I think he says, let me find the exact one. He says the face is the soul of the body. There's actually another one he has. Let me see. Oh, here. He says the human body, Ludwig Wittgenstein says the human body is the best picture of the human soul. Dear listeners, there is no such thing as geniuses, believe it or not. There is no such thing as all the dualities we consider. Good, bad, right, wrong, simple, complex, the light and darkness, like all of these. Immortality, mortality, morality, it's like everything. All the dualistic systems that are active in human perception in any given moment can be, in some sense, it's as if you put the ego on pause to look at what you are and realize that the whole solipsistic sense of reality is a simulation. What this means is that the periodic table is real, but how the periodic table is moving is leading to simulations of the periodic table that are not the periodic table. Do you know really what it is in ancient mythology they would say the human species was like, humans were like, the child of the Mother Earth and Father Sky. To me, these two can be a metaphor for two dimensions. We are maybe the first species on this planet that in some sense lifted our head above the objective waters. Do you know? Just like in biological evolution, right? It was like the eyes evolved underwater for the creature, and then the creature grew limbs and stepped out of the water somehow made it outside of the water. Who knew how many fish had to die so monkeys could eat bananas, How many creatures from the water attempted to go on land before the evolutionary adjustment was made, Oh man, evolution is hilarious. It's like, we evolved just to be able to talk about it. It's like, what was the purpose of evolution? I'm pretty sure, recording a podcast is part of it, Really what it is communication is the greater life of the human being. It's the life of your mind in the outer realms, And one has to also be careful of knowledge. Like, people say like knowledge is power, and people think it's good to have like ridiculous amounts of knowledge, but I'm telling you, there is a limit, because there is ways that a person can know life that they introduce them to dehumanized dimensions. And the issue with dehumanized dimensions is that there is no self that could have a sense of right and wrong. The outer realms right now primarily is just a dualistic linguistic simulation. All it's pretty much like human behavior managed to echoes into a subjective universe. Now, in this era of storytellings of truth, it's like the species needs to establish advanced networks of global communication, where in some sense we are creating like somewhere in the world. I've called this in my work the School of Athens 2.0, where it's this giant, the biggest coliseum ever built on this planet, and at the center of it, there is pretty much not gladiators fighting, but the greatest minds on the planet constantly challenging the greatest ideas. That means really we become an advanced civilization where not we just have dreams and hopes of greatness, where greatness is actualized and greatness is competitively updating, right? This is a benefit of a capitalistic system, but the issue with capitalism is that it is focusing on objective return. Right? It's as if we need the body to be dancing, to be in some sort of theater of culture, in order for it to feel that how would I tell you? It's like we climb out of our inner universe, we enter the outer universe, then we see the outer universe, all its meaning is based on all the human beings that have come and given the meaning to it. It's as if before I was born, like the concept of the bottle was was there, right? And when I just learned the concept, and I'm like, yeah, that's a bottle. This is a laptop. It's as if it's like the subjective linking to the object, right? But to me, if there is a chance we are actually experiencing life from a state that is, how would I tell you, that is not bound to dualistic cause and effect and change. It's as if there is no one who can be free when you are freedom. This is like the bodhisattvic understanding. Now, I'm going to read something for you. I actually started and then I drifted here. I'll read it again. There's stages of bodhisattvahood in Mahayana Buddhism, which I want to read for the audience right now. It's like I don't think any podcaster is like doing this in 2022. But I don't know here. Anyways, I'll read it. According to James B. Apple, if one studies the earliest textual materials which discuss the Bodhisattva path, which includes the translations of Lokashima and the Gantaran manuscripts, one finds 4 key stages that are demarcated throughout this early textual material that constitute the most basic elements in the path of a Bodhisattva. So it's as if these are the important, let's say, stages. They're not stages that everybody's going to be like this, but I'm saying, like, as the civilization advances, these qualities may be perceived more often. So the main elements to the bodhisattvic stages are: 1, the arising of the thought of awakening. I don't know if I can pronounce this, but it says bodhicitta pada. The arising of the thought of awakening, when a person first aspires to attain the state of Buddhahood and thereby becomes a bodhisattva. The second stage is endurance towards the fact that things are not produced. Third stage, the attainment of the status of irreversibility or non-retrogression, vartika, or non-retrogression from Buddhahood, which means one is close to Buddhahood and that one can no longer turn back or regress from that attainment. They are exemplary monks with cognitive powers equal to arats. I don't know what that is. They practice. I think the arats are probably like divine saints or something. They practice the four dhyanas, have a deep knowledge of perfect wisdom, and teach it to others. In the Lokashima's Chinese translation of the Astasahasrika, the Dao Ching Banru Jing, this stage is closely related to a concentration, samadhi, that does not grasp at anything at all. The fourth stage is the prediction, Vyakarana, the event when a Buddha predicts the time and place of a bodhisattva's subsequent awakening. The prediction is directly associated with the status of irreversibility. The Tao Ching Banru Jing states, all the bodhisattvas who have realized the irreversible stage have obtained the prediction to Buddhahood from the Buddhas in the past. According to Druze, the Astasahasrika Pranjna Paramita Sutra divides the Bodhisattva path into three main stages. The first stage is that of Bodhisattvas who first set out in the vehicle. Then there is the irreversible stage. And finally the third, bound by one more birth. As in, furthermore, according to Druze, most Mahayana sutras never encourage anyone to become a bodhisattva or present any ritual or other means of doing so. In a similar manner to the Nikaya sources, Mahayana sutras also see new bodhisattvas as likely to regress, while seeing irreversible bodhisattvas are quite rare. Thus, according to Druze, the Astasahasrika, for instance, states that as many bodhisattvas are as their grains of sand in the Ganges turn. Here, I'll read it again. Thus, according to Druze, the Astasahasrika, for instance, states that as many bodhisattvas as their grains of sand in the Ganges turn back from the pursuit of Buddhahood, and that out of innumerable beings who give rise to bodhicitta and progress towards Buddhahood, only one or two will reach the point of becoming irreversible. Honestly, it's as if like the species is a collective vision. You know, it's as if how could a bodhisattva attain Buddhahood if it still sees separate beings? You know? Anyways, there's something else I'm going to read and then I'll end this part of it. The Bodhisattva bhumis, grounds. According to various Mahayana sources, on the way to becoming a Buddha, a Bodhisattva proceeds through various stages, bhumis of spiritual progress. The term bhumi means earth or place and figuratively can mean ground, plane, stage, level, state of consciousness. There are various lists of bhumis. The most common is a list of 10 found in the Dasa Bhumika Sutra. But there are also lists of 7 stages as well as lists which have more than 10 stages. The Dasa Bhumika Sutra lists the following 10 stages. The first stage is, here it says, great joy. It is said that being close to enlightenment and seeing the benefit for all sentient beings, one achieves great joy, hence the name. In this bhumi, the bodhisattvas practice all perfections, but specially emphasizing generosity. Stainless, this is the second stage. In accomplishing the second bhumi, the bodhisattva is free from the stains of immorality. Therefore, the bhumi is named stainless. The emphasized perfection is moral discipline. The third stage is luminous. The light of Dharma is said to radiate for others from the bodhisattva who accomplishes the third bhumi. The emphasized perfection is patience. The fourth stage, radiant. This bhumi, it is said to be, and guys, bhumi means place or stage. Radiant, this bhumi is said to be like a radiating light that fully burns, that which opposes enlightenment. The emphasized perfection is vigor. The fifth stage, very difficult to train. Bodhisattvas who attain this ground strive to help sentient beings attain maturity and do not become emotionally involved when such beings respond negatively, both of which are difficult to do. The emphasized perfection is meditative concentration. The sixth stage is called obviously transcendent. By depending on the perfection of wisdom, the bodhisattva does not abide in either samsara or nirvana, which is samsara means simulation, nirvana means truth. Does not abide in either samsara or nirvana, so this stage is obviously transcendent. The emphasized perfection is wisdom. Gone afar, this is the seventh stage. Particular emphasis is on the perfection of skillful means to help others. The eighth stage is called immovable. The emphasized virtue is aspiration. The immovable bhumi is where one becomes able to choose his place of rebirth. The ninth stage, good discriminating wisdom. The emphasized virtue is the understanding of self and non-self. The emphasized virtue is the understanding of self and non-self. Yeah, contentment with humanized and dehumanized dimensions of being. The 10th stage is called Cloud of Dharma. The emphasized virtue is the practice of primordial wisdom. After this bhumi, one attains full Buddhahood. Primordial wisdom is another way of saying the original state of being. Once you remember the original, the illusion is optional. The simulations of the realm are optional. So that's the bodhisattva component of this episode. Really, what is there to say? Every person's DNA is different. This is the hilarious, they say life is a comedy and tragedy. The tragedy is attributed to death, but its comedy is attributed to, in some sense, the infinity of life. There's a great feeling that I have every day of my life, which it helps me counter my own philosophical considerations of my mortality. Pretty much this feeling that there will be children born in the future who they will realize that the advanced civilization is the ultimate conclusion of the physical realm. These children, I call them the pilots of consciousness. They will be human beings where they will no longer, it's as if they have surpassed the game of outer realm comparison. And so it's as if they become servants of the nature of, I would say, the true nature of the realm. That is a greater divinity, right? People who have a physical guru, I honestly, I don't know what those people are doing. Right, to me, a physical guru should be just a mirror, just a mental mirror, nothing more, nothing less. For me, I feel that the future will hear the greatest music, but it will be the music of all dimensions of human life activated. No longer suffering defines us, but the joy of what can be. How many inventors will open their eyes, how many designers will enter this realm, and they will look at the system and structure of the world, and they will roar like lions from the future. Eventually in this life, after the completion of the outer realm advanced civilization, and after the completion of the inner realm advanced communication, the human being, this is now where the title of this episode comes in, the decisions towards the divine alternative. After the outer realm victory has been attained, and as futurists, like a compassionate army for the first time in history, trying to build the world that the species truly deserves. Do you know, violence is animal games. We have shifted beyond the animal. It's as if the civilized human entity holds within itself a power that no barking dog could get close to, like it's as if, like, the wolf learns to howl in the moon alone, and that's the sort of divine opening, right? I don't talk about it much because I have noticed that religious institutions get offended quickly, right? Even though I through philosophy I talk about religion, through theology and whatnot. But I would say that to me, if somebody was like, all right, Mr. Within, there's nothing to do in the outer realms anymore, what would you recommend? It's as if there is a way that a person actually experiences more than their body. And so when they experience more than their body, the fear of the body's outcome is gone. So it's another way of saying that it's like an object in a field of intelligence. You are the field. The field is selfless. That selflessness of the field is an ability to move anything in the realm. It's as if, like, a level 200 character coming into a level 2 map, like nothing happens to it because it has that, it remembers that which it's as if you are before you need to do anything about it. That's where I would say the divinity of life enters. Even if a person, this is what I would recommend, that people don't have any opinions on who they are, and they sit down for 10 minutes to 20 minutes just in pure stillness and silence. And in that silence and stillness, put the story of the world on pause and re-wonder about everything. And pretty much watch what your mind gifts you as inner perception. And you will get clues of how your intelligence works. I am telling you. This is one of the hardest things to really communicate to a materialist. Why? Because it's as if when we ask where is the materialistic universe, it is in empty space. That means it's like, what grand truth of a physical order when there is a sort of empty chaos everywhere? Do you know? It's as if I would say that it's as if as a person I cannot hate evil, and I cannot love the good. Do you know? And let me tell you why. Because in the vision that one is superior to the dimensions that hold their conception, one finds a freedom, and it's literally like you start off as this kind of bewildered, psychological and physiological entity, and then this bewildered beast sat down and stopped moving in its bewildered ways. As it calmed down, the mind began moving more and more. That means that you look at lesser species, their bodies are in control of their minds. But when you look at the human being, our mind is in control of our body. And what the mind is how the attention that is, how attention steps out into the world. I've repeated this quote from the Vedas often, the Upanishads, but it says the seer of the seen is unseen. The source of the source is actually not a source. And what this means is that beyond causality, there is intelligent, incomprehensible meaning. That means cause and effect is just, there's states of being beyond cause and effect. That is, it's like the awareness of both simultaneously. The divine alternative is how the person lived as a body for a very long time, and then realized that the mind is here, and lived as a mind for a very long time, and realized that the body and mind are projections of the inconceivable, and that inconceivable is I say it's inconceivable, but because we are being it, the moment we accept our being, we see it. Do you know? It's as if, it's like they ask someone, it's like, are there gods in the room? And then the person's like, yeah, if you believe in gods. Really, it's just awareness and its position, its presence. Pretty much I'm asking the species to reverse engineer in whatever way they like to figure out the source of attention, to realize that the world is just like shoes we put on that we never took off, right? It's like that we could to completely maneuver and navigate and pilot our attention differently, right? Really what it is we wake up in the morning and there is wakeful, like the wakeful dimension is like sensory awareness. But what is really fascinating is that I think even before we wake up, like before our eyes open and we are awake, the body is actually waking up earlier. Deep sleep is really mysterious. Deep sleep is like a clue. It's a clue that beyond the activities of the mind and body, the collective unconscious remains. In this world, my vision for an advanced civilization, sometimes I haven't mentioned this, but sometimes I have made a prayer for the advanced civilization. Do you know? And that prayer has been that it's as if it's like this loud command to the universal sector. That all conscious entities in the realm march towards this possibility. The Bodhisattva seeks the awakening of all beings, all sentient beings. There will come a time in the future where not only an advanced civilization is there, but that an advanced civilization is so advanced that people have become it. It's like we are living in the era of like individual shaped beings. In the future, there's going to be pretty much like a highway of souls poetically. Like people don't realize Shintoism is from the future. Sometimes I think about what is the cost of life. It's like you look at an object, sure, you give it a price, but when you wonder about what is the price of life, and it's another way of saying what is the value of life. And one answer is not to ignore it. This is an obvious answer. The other answer is an experiential relationship with existence. But I would say for the mystic that feels that they have been here before, it's as if been there, done that, but it's an eternal being saying it. It's like they introduced the 14th, like let's say the 15th Dalai Lama, and the 15th Dalai Lama had like a next level suit, and it's like, been there, done that, I'm in the reincarnation game, Honestly though, jokes aside, we are going towards collective dehumanization. Technologically, it's unavoidable, but naturally, we started from there. Like the advantage that human beings have psychologically is that nature, like here, I'll give you an example. Let's say in a hypothetical sci-fi scenario, aliens landed on the planet, but these aliens never moved. Like they became like statues. These aliens, they became like statues on the planet. And for the longest time, people were like, what are these aliens that are like still as a statue doing on the planet? And then we realized there's a psychological alien invasion happening. Now, the moment there's a psychological alien invasion happening, the greatest mental retaliation of the human being is actually to abide by nature as quickly as possible. Do you know? Nature is our greatest defense against unnatural interference, really, right? It's as if, like, imagine there's this whole scenario, like there's this sequoia tree, and imagine beside this sequoia tree, this AI, like, that is ruling the world is like, kind of like, it is headquartered there, okay, in this hypothetical scenario. Okay, and imagine that human beings try to destroy this AI that is controlling everybody, and they fail, and then they look at nature and they apologize to nature, like our species apologizes to nature in regards to sort of technological invasion in that sense. And then imagine last minute a sequoia tree randomly falls on this AI machine and destroys it, and human beings are released or something. I'm playing with the abstract here, but what I'm trying to say is that really, what can we do? We can jump up and down as objects, and we can actually pilot our attention in our inner realms to re-administer our whole subjective, conceptual being and contextual being. Really, the moment you see this universe as alive, not just you, not just animals, some people see trees as alive, but I'm telling you, now imagine the whole cosmic event is alive. The whole universe, the cosmos is a being. Now, it would be as if the consideration that we look at ants and we're like, look at the mind of this ant. And then we look at the human being and we're like, look at the mind of the human being. Now, it's fair to say our mind is like an ant to greater minds. And the clue towards what a greater mind looks like is a mind that is free from the conditional, which is shape-bound, right? That means it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future there are people who they believe in pure mindism. Imagine. That means it's like the purpose of life is to just be a mind detached from anything physical. Now imagine it's the other, pure bodyism. We say imagination is not real, but believe it or not, the sense of self that is considering imagination is not real is imagined. It is the brain's dance. It's how the lightning strikes of the neural synapses in some sense convert into a character's journey in an unknown world. It's remarkable. Honestly, the body is an antenna. One can make this argument that imagine, early extraterrestrial life was disembodied, okay? And imagine, like, a gust of wind was roaming the surface of the earth, and this gust of wind was like, imagine, like a conscious soul, like solar being, okay? And imagine this field, or let's say this force, this sort of force roaming the earth suddenly decides to take shape, right? And it chooses the body of an animal in which it is designed to have relationships with nature. It's like some people are like, trees aren't alive, and then we realize like apples are shaped to the size of our hands. It's like it's like either the trees adjusted or we did, Sometimes when I get too philosophically overloaded in regards to what the nature of reality subjectively can mean, I kind of ground myself in thinking of it as it was seeded. That means the intelligence of how the universe happens was designed before the universe could happen, was present before the universe could happen. The seed became the tree, and yet the tree has forgotten it is the seed. It's like biological creatures entranced by, by storylines. It's as if them suddenly realizing, the simplicity of nature is prior to the concept of suffering. Your simplest self cannot suffer. Your most complex self can suffer, but it can also in some sense experience the opposite. You see, to be responsible for your biological body, that is, let's say, a stage of humanhood, but to be responsible for your psychological awareness, like that is something that it's like people don't realize. It's like a gift. It's literally a gift that you have to open and see how you as an antenna in this realm pick up the signals of life. What else can be said? We're all strangers to the world we were born in because we can't see the edge of it. You know, if there was like this concept of some sort of, you know, galactic agency, like some sort of galactic association in the cosmos, right? And this galactic association was like from all the, let's say, planets that have advanced civilizations on the planet, on their own planets, like, I'm just pretty much saying, imagine this galactic council is looking at Earth and they're like, what do we do with Earthlings, right? And the galactic council was like, just look at them, these creatures are hilarious, right? I honestly believe the reason the species has survived so long is because it's like where the species is funny, you know, and the funny deserves continuity. I don't know why. There's something about that, you know, because in some sense it is a release. It is a release from the fixations of destiny. The divine alternative is you start living like a universal being where not only the universe is alive, but you are its life as well. And you know, it's like how Rabindranath Tagore, this Indian polymath, says. He says, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. You see, that's how advanced civilizations happen, where to serve the greatness of the realm becomes the justice the lonely ego could never find. You know, it becomes the honor. You know, like right now, back in the day, people had kings, okay? Like legit kings, like warrior level kings, right? And it's as if they were like conquerors, right? And so people, like, imagine a village boy would be like, I want to be a king when I grow up, right? But when we look at our modern world, that level of intensity and honor is missing. Like, the religious people are trying to hold on to that sort of, honorable hierarchical system. Oh my god, somebody's like, barely I can hear you. No guys, this is like maxed out. I don't know what else to do. I'm gonna continue before it's as if the religious narrative being a sort of, approach towards having an honor for the cosmos. You know, they ask the person, what do you love the most in life? And the person's like, I love God, right? And then it's as if, like, I don't know how to tell you, it's like when you love the source is left with being loved. You know what I'm saying? It's as if, like, post-enlightenment states require the consciousness of how the eagle was flying in the sky to be preserved the moment it lands on a branch. You know? This is actually a great metaphor for even the concept of reincarnation. It's as if a collective being is like the eagle in the sky. That's the Atman, the notion of the soul. The eagle comes to the branch and sits on the branch, right? And when it sits on the branch, it becomes defined based on the view of the branch, right? The view from the branch, right? So similarly, it's like, a field of intelligence incarnated and converted and landed on a material realm. It's as if right now, it's like an eagle with wings on a branch is equivalent to like a human being in a world that has realized the source of its mind. It's as if the source of the mind is the freedom of the sky, who says that we cannot be, it's as if infinite, right? The infinite, it's like I have a personal passion for it, but really it is something that probably like 300 to 400 years will become really the focus of intellectual civilization. The eyes open, the eyes close. Civilizations rise and fall. And in the middle of this chaos and order, the human being plays. It's as if like, it's like, what's the most important thing in life? I would say a fun efficiency. Imagine right now we all were living in such an advanced civilization, right, that every day you turned on the news or whatever, you just saw all the different sectors of this civilization to advancing, right? It's as if news becomes the greatest source of hope, where now it is kind of like the display of misery. Decisions towards the divine alternative. It's kind of like being, I guess, like, alright, I experienced myself, I experienced others, and now I am experiencing the world. And after experiencing the world, it's as if the great goodbye, where it's as if before the person passes away, they honorably bow. Their mind honorably bows to the service that their physical body is provided. And it's as if, like, at the same time, it's as if, like, let's say the ever-present central sun, soul, how would I say it? You bow to your body, you bow to the realms of your mind, and once you become responsible poetically and also mystically as a soul, you realize energy cannot fear, and Satchit Ananda becomes instantly activated. Imagine that there's this movie scene, and okay, actually I'm gonna write this down. It's too much to share right now. Wonder about your eyes again. Wonder about how the presence of life extends beyond the belief systems of, the ability of the brain. It's as if one, finding the greater, it's as if like you're looking at life, and let's say those people who are suffering, to them life is like bad music, right? And at the same time, imagine those who are suddenly they find themselves in tune with the presence of nature. For them, they start hearing this incredible symphony, this orchestra, as if from the distance you're hearing songs, but these songs are efforts of an advanced civilization. To me, it's as if, like, I would tell you the way Beethoven was like, experiencing divinity when playing piano, at the late stages of his life. I would say it would be like, for me, that same fascination with the divine would be when sky cities lift off. Sky cities is, to me, the most sacred thing. The species has part of its birthright is to, in some sense, live beyond its birth. Wonder about how a lion roars, and then wonder about how your soul yours, how you are present as life force right now. And honor is based on your nature. I was, I would say, in my youth, I was shy and lonely. And this shyness and loneliness, in some sense, made me have to force resolutions on the nature of reality. So it's as if what I'm trying to say is that there is a side to this world that never sees you, and there is a side to this world that always sees you. It's as if the way I pilot my inner realms to my outer realms is actually I am preferenceless, and then the moment the thought arrives or the inner image is seen, then it's as if everything is known. It's as if the mind is the commander and the body is like the soldier. And the soul is the general that only comes when the commander has lost its purpose. They don't say this, but a lot of people who go towards spirituality, they have actually experienced a sort of suffering that they have been exposed to some dehumanized state, right? And that dehumanized state becomes a sort of catalyst for their perceptions on what is actually the human being when the whole cosmos is happening. Are we a cosmic activity? Are we an individual activity? According to Swami Krishnananda, he says, the moment you realize the inseparability of the individual and the cosmos, you no longer need to meditate because you have surpassed thought. It's as if language is not your owner anymore. You become poetically, just like how there was like a mask. Your name becomes a mask on the mind that is boundless. Regardless of where you stand, wonder about what the greatest humanity deserves, and wonder about what the greatest civilization deserves to happen. Like I don't know how to say this. It's as if can we, as a species, attempt at least to build paradise on Earth? Can we attempt it? Can the leaders can all those people in the United Nations, sometimes invite a philosopher, Who knows? Beyond the knowledge that we filter reality through, the whole moment is being everything. Awareness is the last staircase beyond the simulation of worlds. The bodhisattva frees itself from individual purpose by realizing what the collective deserves. When I wonder about, the future generations, I feel like these children are going to be very angry if we don't build backup systems for them. A huge risk of extinction is psychological destability. I don't know how to say it. It's as if minds need to learn how to use a word to go beyond it. The era of the advanced communicators has come. The era of the advanced civilization has been acknowledged. Whoever you are, walk towards the most advanced vision that your mind can command forth. Love is important, but the greatest love is responsible. People, when a miracle happens, it's like the religious person loves God. Loves the administration of the unknown, of the known, when the known trusts the unknown. And to trust the unknown is very advanced. Why? Because for most people, they have a problem with its contentment. Do you know, this is how, like, some people were like, how is this yogi sitting in this cave for like years, like in the Himalayas, right? And the yogi had a fascination, as if that being was born to be fascinated beyond the boundaries of self. And the most remarkable advantage of the human species is novelty. That means somebody could be like, you're right, you're wrong, and I'll be like, no, there's going to be something new. And really what we are is we are just passing the torch down, you know. To advance communication is the purpose of human life from 2022. I would give it to the year 2422. But I would say very specifically before the year 2050. It's as if, how do we build an advanced civilization where the greatest possibility is there? And really it means that every human being that is alive must in some sense, in their own, through their own soul's strategic eyes, march towards the advanced. The bodhisattva is freed when the species realizes that what the world deserves. It's as if we have one lifetime to see how far we could go. It's like an unknown experiencer that realizes the unknown self was there before the known self. There's actually no way of experiencing oneness unless you are experiencing everything is unknown in one moment. Those people who feel they're one with stuff that they're considering, I'm telling you, truth, it's not that truth doesn't care for feelings. I would say it's more like truth is its own entrance. The decency of the human being unlocks that intuitive GPS system to, in some sense, wonder not about, you know, it's as if like you look at the world in the outer realms and you're like, outer peace is going to take some time, but you wonder about inner peace, and that's instantaneous. And what inner peace means is, what is the simplest state that you are being as a being? And in that simplicity, the world is too simple to be imperfect. That's inner peace. That means it's as if you based on your own ability as a being, you realized it's like the hardest, not the hardest, but the most complex thing is actually to love a changing world. That's really why they say love is divine. It's as if you're loving. It's as if you know. It's like glimpses of eternity in a temporal system. You know, in one talk, I was thinking about the concept of emptiness, and I said that there is a chance that it doesn't exist. You know, that means emptiness cannot be conceived because it has no content. So it is only in relation to content there being first. It's as if we don't realize that if the truth of reality is beyond shape, we as creatures are bound by shape. You know, at best we can become, you know, geometrical lords in the future. The lords of geometry, poetically in implication to the great designers that will, you know, awaken on this planet. The pilots of consciousness, these to me will be human beings who their attention has found the greatest efficiency to pull like the civilization to pilot attention of others, right? But the advanced communicators are like the cabin crew. Imagine an airplane and they're pretty much there to handle the dualistic inner systems. It's pretty much like we need some people to envision the future of what the species is gonna do beyond itself, and then we need some people to be able to help find strategies to, in some sense, balance and advance the inner component of the species. You know, it's as if at least now we know what the great task is. The legend of the advanced civilization. The legend of the castles in the sky. The legend of civilization 2.0. As the winds of evolution go forth, even the soul no longer needed to be a soul. As the species can evolve, I have given it, like I'm writing a book on this, but 3,600 years from now, the species will have a choice to, in some sense, advance beyond the language threshold, and in some sense, no longer live as a subject or an object anymore. That means it's as if energy mastered its own presence to the degree that it couldn't be inconceivable. It's as if before the person died, they had become the world that never could. Rise, mankind, rise. Life is the home of the eternal.